Hello! Today I'm going to talk about more characters I would like to see in Marvel Rivals. I am going to do, if I had the choice, I'm going to add 5 more characters in each role of Marvel Rivals. So this is like 15 characters I'm going to be talking about here. And so that's quite a bit. And the reason why I'm doing this is that I am giving like an equal chance of talking about specific roles and characters I would like to see in specific roles. And so, yeah, without further ado, let's get started. We'll start with Vanguard. Something I hear a lot when it comes to Vanguards is that people want more female Vanguards because the only female Vanguard we have right now is Penny. And so I have some good choices, I think. If you watch my other videos, then you know I'm not someone who typically wants to go with the more safe basic choices. Again, nothing wrong with those, but I can only listen to people talking about how they want She-Hulk in the game or Big Bertha in the game. Although Big Bertha is a pretty deep cut, so I will admit that. But yeah, people are saying She-Hulk, which is a great choice, do not get me wrong. I would love to see She-Hulk in the game. But I'm also like, well, there's more than just She-Hulk, more than Big Bertha. And then I'm also gonna forego Armor, which kind of hurts me because I love Armor. Armor is a really cool X-Men. But I'm gonna forego Armor just because I did slightly mention her before. And also, just real quick, if you watched like my yapping video, then there are characters that are on there that I'm going to mention here, just because this is a little bit more formal than that. One of the characters that I think could be a cool female Vanguard that I can think of is Riri Williams, aka Ironheart. Now hear me out when I say this. I mentioned before how I kind of want to see the Hulkbuster armor, but it doesn't make sense for Iron Man to get it as a costume because the Hulkbuster armor is pretty big, right? I did see a comment that someone said that, oh, what if War Machine gets it as part of his ult? Now, what if I said, what if we have Ironheart pilot this game's Hulkbuster? I just think that is a pretty good fit. My only problem with it, like that I'm seeing it from myself, is that it's a little too close to Penny, right? Because Penny is already a girl piloting a mecha. And so we're essentially having Ironheart in a giant suit. And so that's the only thing that I'm like, about. And the colors are actually relatively similar, but they can always change up the colors of the Hulkbuster, so who knows. But I think Hulkbuster with Riri Williams in it would be a pretty cool choice. Next up is a character that assumes a feminine form, but technically doesn't have a gender, and this is Danger. Danger was the danger room that the X-Men would train in. It gained it's had its own sentience, but it got really pissed off at the X-Men and started fighting them. And so, yeah, but then it's helped the X-Men before, so it's like this whole weird thing. But I think Danger would be really cool, and I think Danger could be like Ramatra from Overwatch. So Danger could have a bigger form and like do more melee damage or something like that, and then it has its regular form. And so I think that would be really cool. Next, in terms of a female Vanguard, this is the last female Vanguard I'm talking about, is Rasputin IV, or Rasputin IV. I think it's Rasputin IV. Rasputin IV is a relatively new character because she is this chimera created mutant by Mr. Sinister. She's really cool. She did play a pretty interesting part in the whole House of X or Fall. Was it Fall? Is it Fall of X? I don't remember. I just read the reread the comics not that long ago. It's the Hux and Pucks, right? Power of X? It's the end of the freaking Krakoa era. Anyway, she has multiple powers going for her because she is made up of multiple DNA. And so she has the metallic skin of Colossus. She wields the soul sword like magic. She has like some telepathy stuff akin to Shadowcat or Kitty Pryde. Yeah, she's pretty friggin' cool. She's a relatively new character, and so I think that is a really cool way to be like, oh, who's this character? Oh, she's part of the X-Men? In what way? And yeah. Alright, next up is Black Knight. Now, Black Knight, I can see be argued for a duelist because it just makes sense. But I think he would be a Vanguard as well. He has a sword, he has a shield. I think one of his abilities should be able to summon Strider, his flying horse Pegasus. Although I feel like that could conflict with Valkyrie whenever they put Valkyrie in the game. And lastly, we have Blackheart. Now, Blackheart is a character that I think could be really interesting. The only character we really have related to the Hell Dimension in the game is Magic. And so I think we could start to explore that a little bit more with Blackheart. Because Blackheart is a pretty big character, has a human form, but I choose to ignore that. And could attack with magic. Like Magic the abilities, not Magic the character. And I think like it'd be interesting if Blackheart could also summon some demons too. I don't know. Maybe that might work. I have no idea. But I think Blackheart would be a really fascinating character. And we need more villains as well. Something that I have kind of noticed, and I think other people have noticed as well, is that in Marvel Rivals, we don't have a whole lot of villains. And so let's add some villains into this. I mean, and Danger technically can be classified as a villain as well. So those are my 5 Vanguards. We're going to move on to Duelists. Duelist is probably the easiest role to have characters kind of like fall into, because like when in the world of superheroes, most of the time they're fighting. There's quite a bit of characters here that I think could work really well as Duelists. So first off, we have Crystal, the princess of the Inhumans. I think she is really fucking cool. She has a lot of different elements. Crystal's really cool because she's basically the Avatar. Wielder of all 4 elements. She could have a lot of versatility as well, I think. And because the Fantastic Four are being added into the game, Crystal has ties to the Fantastic Four, like most other characters, but Crystal and Johnny did have, you know, a thing going on at one point. Who didn't have a thing with Johnny going on at one point? Next up is White Fox. I love White Fox. White Fox is a character who is relatively new. She's a Korean superhero. She's a Kumiho, which is a 9-tailed fox person, lady, creature. It's like a Kyuubi in Japanese mythology. But the thing is, in a lot of Asian cultures, foxes are in the mythology a lot. So just gotta take it for what it is. But I think she's really cool. I think she could be a really cool duelist. My only problem, though, is that I don't know how to differentiate like her basic attacks away from Black Panther, because she uses her claws. And so there's that. But her abilities can be wholly different from Black Panther. She has charming abilities, which I think should be able to like draw people towards her or stuff like that. Like her charm ability, I feel like should kind of be like Ari's charm ability in League. But then we also need to separate White Fox from Ari. Something I said before is that I feel like so many of these games, like MOBAs or like hero shooters, typically has a fox lady in it, and so we could just add White Fox to fill in that quota. I think her ultimate should be her transforming into her like giant like 9-tailed fox form, and she should have a team up with Iron Fist because they're buddies. Like literally, they're actually friends. This is a character, I'm not gonna lie, I think is going to be really hard to put into the game, but I would love to see him because he's one of my favorite characters in Marvel. And it's Reader. Reader is an Inhuman. Out of all of the Inhumans that could be put in the game, I highly doubt he'd be one up for consideration, if I'm being totally honest. But he's really cool. He has no eyes, so he wears like these goggle like glasses things, but there's no eyes under it. Like it's just flesh. And he's really cool. His superpowers is that like anything he reads, that thing will happen. And it's usually like one word. Because I think his power, that's how his powers manifest, is that it has to be like one word at a time. And how he does it when he's blind, or technically just can't, like has no eyes, he carries these braille tags with him that he'll read, and that's how he will use his power. The one that he uses the most is C, because he has a dog named Foray, who he will like use Foray's eyes to see. But other than that, he's like a really total badass. He's super powerful. I just don't know how to implement his powers necessarily into the game as abilities, because he has a pretty big arsenal, but then it's just like, what do you do? And then there's also this thing with Reader, is that like the more he uses his powers throughout the day, and like the more like powerful the effect or devastating the effect, the weaker subsequent powers get. And so he has to legitimately rest in order for him to like do the powers. And so I think that could be interesting to be added in his gameplay, is that he starts off really strong once he's like out of spawn, but then he progressively gets weaker. But then I don't know if that will work, so I don't know. But I think he'd be a cool character. Next up is Marrow. Marrow is a Morlock. She's a mutant. And I feel like people forget the Morlocks exist, which is so hilarious because that's kind of what happens in the comics. But I think Marrow's cool. She is able to do bone manipulation, so I think she shoot out bones. She just and throw her bones and all this stuff. I think she'd be really cool, to be honest. We also kind of, again, need a little bit more, maybe not full-on villains, but like morally gray characters like Marrow. Marrow falls along that, and I think she'd be really cool. And I also feel like people really forget that the X-Men are an outlier when it comes to the mutant population, right? Because the X-Men are like the really hot, like really strong, hot mutants. Marrow represents the kind of mutants that are people typically tend to be like, oh, you're kind of ugly, and that's why they're cast out. All right, lastly for Duelist is Ka-Zar. Now I want Ka-Zar, Shauna, and Zabu in the game, but I think out of the three, the one that has the most likely choice to make it into the game is Ka-Zar. And so while I don't think we could have Shauna with this little thing, I think Ka-Zar should come with Zabu. And so I think Ka-Zar's gameplay, I think we can derive it off of one of two Smite characters. First being Scotty, because like maybe you could like run around and throw javelins and shit, but be able to send Zabu off to attack. And Zabu's only able to do so while Zabu like still has health or whatever. And then Zabu will come back. I think that could be an interesting gameplay element. But I'm also thinking Ka-Zar could also draw from a Willish from Smite and be able to ride Zabu, and has like kind of not like a fully different moveset in that way, but just like be able to do a little bit of different things while riding Zabu versus being off Zabu. So regardless, I want Zabu to be part of someone's gameplay, if not Zabu being his own character. Alright, lastly we have the Strategists. Nico Minoru, Sister Grimm, should be in the game. I think she could be our Mercy of the game, where she could like just have a healing tether to people, but she should also be able to do pretty good damage because she does magic, and she does blood magic as well. And I don't exactly know how balanced or how good things would be if you have to sacrifice health in order to like amplify your powers or abilities. So I had a thought, it's just like, what if Nico is able to give herself temporary health, like, you know, like the blue health, and then that's what you're sacrificing in order to do like maybe like amplify the heals or do a really cool damage attack, you know. So maybe that could work. I'm not entirely sure. The next character that I think we should have is Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew. Now we don't have a spider person in strategist role, and so I think Jessica Drew could actually fulfill that role pretty well. I think she could be a really cool debuffer. I think she's able to debuff the team, like the opposing team. She's able to do Toxic Blast, she's able to glide. I think she could be a really cool character if we want like a spider person in the strategist role. And maybe like one of her costumes could be the way she looks in the Spider-Verse. Alright, next up we have Thane. Thane is Thanos' son. He has an arm that's all about death, and then he has his other arm that can do amber stuff, which is like living death. I think he could be a cool healer in that way. I think he should be able to stun / encase people in amber, and if it wasn't for the fact that Scarlet Witch already has like the Moira like auto attack of like just like walking onto whoever's closest and just like draining them, I think that could have gone to Thane. But Thane technically could kind of be our Moira of the game, because he has like two different hands that do different things. And so, I don't know. I think that could work. Most people don't know that Thanos has a son, and he's also an Inhuman. In retrospect, I didn't realize I was putting as many Inhumans on this list than I thought it was. Alright, this next one is a little silly, a little stupid. Instead of DJ, because I wanted to put DJ on this list, but then his powers are also weird. After I describe his powers, people might be like, oh, he could be like the Lucio of the game. But I don't really want that for him. Because DJ's powers is that like whatever music he listens to, he gets a different power. And so, yeah, so technically could he be the Lucio of the game? Yes, but I don't really want that for him. So I went with this character instead. And this one's, again, a little silly, very silly actually, and kind of stupid. And this character is Egg, also formerly known as Gold Balls. Also, why the fuck is this character so fucking important to the mutant population? I know why he's important to the mutant population. So Egg, I'm gonna call him Gold Balls because that's how I knew him. I'll call him Egg. That's his preferred moniker now. Egg is a character who is so important to the mutant population because he's able to shoot out these golden balls, which is why he was called Gold Balls in the first place, that make a poink sound. I just think that'd be really funny to hear in the game. But it turns out that the things he's shooting out are infertile eggs, and that is what is being used to resurrect mutants. So he has to work with the 5 in order to really resurrect people, but he's really important to that process. Regardless, I think Egg could be a really cool strategist. His balls Oh no. his balls can heal people and hurt people. They should be able to bounce, and yeah, I think he'd be a really interesting character. I did debate actually putting him in Vanguard because he's got the build for it, but I think Strategist works for him pretty well too, actually. Maybe his ult is that he turns into a giant egg and just rolls over people. Again, we need more villains, right? Thane could also be classified as a villain as well. But we need more villains, and I think Mr. Sinister could provide us a really cool X-Men villain. Because he is a character in which, realistically, would he be a strategist? No. But are they being comic accurate? No. If we want to be break it all down, by all means, Rocket should actually be a duelist, right? But the thing is that they're gonna just, we can change shit up, and that's the fun thing about theorizing this stuff. And so Mr. Sinister, I think, could be a strategist. He's all about, taking mutant DNA and, doing shit with it, and he created Rasputin IV. So I think he has the means to be a strategist. Would he realistically be one? Probably not. I don't know how balanced this would be, because obviously he can't do it repeatedly. What if he extends cooldowns? We can maybe save, the taking ability if they ever put Rogue in the game, and she could, just touch people and, take an ability that they have. But what if Mr. Sinister, instead of doing that, he increases the cooldown for these characters, and maybe decreases cooldowns for his allies, as if he cares, or himself, whatever. I don't know. I think that could be an interesting way to put him in the game, because he's all about manipulating that shit. Those are 15 more characters, 5 for each role, that I would like to see in the game, and hopefully they are relatively unique enough and interesting enough for you guys to maybe look into them some more and maybe agree or disagree, whatever. It's all good. You can choose whatever character you want. And again, I typically like going for the characters that are not being talked about that much, that are not obvious, because the amount of times I have seen Cyclops, Daredevil, Nightcrawler, Deadpool on people's lists is way too many. Because again, I feel like all those characters are really, really safe. They're really safe to be in the game, and so I want characters that might not be safe to be in the game. Hence why I chose these characters. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, and until next time. I don't know, maybe more Marvel Rival stuff. I don't know. How long am I able to do this? Anyways, see ya.